And we're live.
And we're recording.
I gotta get all my windows set up. So. Tell your friends you're listening to the Verhoeven Effect podcast. I'm Conlon.
And I'm Nathan.
And tonight we have another very special episode. We have the 2010 movie Monsters. Nathan, do you have a history with monsters?
I remember hearing about, seeing ads for it because it came out at a film festival.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, this is a really cool movie for like something made for very little money.
Yeah.
It's like very creative in how they do it. But they said it's kind of a dreamy, like love story set in the backdrop of really weird stuff.
Yeah.
And it had like a haunting soundtrack, and it's like made by some depressed British guy. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds right up my alley. So I on-demanded this. I don't believe this was available in theaters, or I didn't see it in theaters at least.
Yeah, I didn't see it in theaters. I think it was limited. Like, I think it made the film festival circuit. Because, like, I think if you check the money on this, it's like it made no money. It's like, well, I don't think they'd give Star Wars to this guy if he didn't make any money. So
yeah.
Because did he do Star Wars directly after this, or is there something else in between?
I think so. I don't.
Okay.
He doesn't have a lot to his name for a guy that's been around a while. He did Godzilla after this.
Oh yeah, well that's still a big budget movie. That was good too. So.
And that's my favorite of those Godzilla movies, just for the trailer alone.
Yeah,
just with their Halo jumping in and Oppenheimer's, voiceovering their. It's like, this is whatever this is. It's awesome. I don't care how dumb it becomes. This is really.
I mean,
awesome.
Oftentimes the trailer is way better than the movie, or a trailer's so good the movie can be bad. But that one's where it's like, it was an awesome trailer, it was an awesome movie, and nobody went and saw it. So,
yeah.
Well, not nobody, but not enough people to give him a. Well, I guess enough people went to. I remember they saw it as a disappointment. And now they have all those really dumb Godzilla movies, and they made like 3 of them, so they must be doing well. So.
Well, I loved it because it was kind of an inverted like story, like because you thought it's like, oh, the guy from Breaking Bad's going to be in this, and he's going to fulfill this whole story arc, and it's like, nope, it just kept on you, and I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, or it's like, now we're going to follow the special forces guys. Like, is he going to win? It's like, nope.
Nope. You think he would win? I mean, come on. Fighting a building that can breathe fire at you.
Did you stop the nuke going off? Nope.
Nope. Did it solve our problems? No. Is life a pointless, futile effort that just ends in horror? Yep.
Which is it's kind of the point of the Godzilla movies, where it's like, there's not really a lot we can do against nature.
You're fighting
worse.
Nature. Beings are technically a force of nature, but only when we act collectively. Godzilla is just a force of nature, and there's just one mind behind it. And he's not communicating or creating anything or using language. He's just a force of destruction.
Yeah.
But sometimes
that's sometimes incidentally in our favor.
Yeah. What they never did with Godzilla was, it's like, oh, these things exist. The nuclear weapons make them stronger. Okay, what about the rods of God? Like, if we dropped a tungsten carbide rod on them at Mach 30, would that kill it? Probably. Okay. But we don't do it because then, like, man prevails over nature and God is dead. No one likes that message. So. People get the collywobbles about that message.
We get Gareth Edwards back in the directing seat, and he just makes Godzilla Evangelion. Yeah.
Godzilla now attacks us through time and space, and through the Book of Genesis. Now, weirdly enough,
we could only kill Godzilla with the Spear of Longinus.
Yeah, Godzilla is attacking us in the form of Jewish mysticism now, because all the angels that were in Evangelion were from the Torah. It's like, like people are like, where'd they come up with these cool names as like ancient religious texts? That's where all the cool bullshit is. Everyone's added a little bit to that story for thousands of years. It's going to be well thought out because everyone's had the chance to play with it. It's like Wikipedia for like 2,000 years or something. But with not good quality control though. But it's there.
Well, I always thought like this was kind of because they had the Life After People stuff was on around. Because I thought Gareth Edwards was like one of the effects guys on Life After People. He's done stuff like that, but he wasn't. But
Yeah, he
kind
did a
of
lot
makes
of stuff
sense.
in the UK.
Yeah,
I like his story about he went to film school because he was obsessed with making films, but he hated the business side of filmmaking.
yeah,
He was really disappointed and horrified. So instead of finding a producer or something to work with, he's like, what if I just did it all myself?
yeah.
It's like, well, that's a hard, long and hard is the road that will be. And it was. That's how he made Monsters.
Yeah.
And then someone saw the brilliance in it, and so he doesn't have to deal with the business side of it. But that was his thing. He's like, I hated the business side of filmmaking. It's why I dropped out of film school. He's like, I don't even want to learn about it. It's so abhorrent to my ethos that, which like that's kind of punk rock. But you know, you're not gonna got to prove yourself, and he did because he's tabled some huge budget films.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like there's a lot of like, crossover between this and last week's movie with District 9, where that was like a more high budget, low budget movie with like kind of really high going special effects, and here's like kind of basically like an almost a one man team making a movie. So, but he did have experience making special effects, so he was, he just had to spend the time on it. So I remember like it was like the guy, there's like some I think they're Australian or they're New Zealand, I can't remember. Maybe they're New Zealand. They're like a brother team. They made a movie called Undead, and they just like practice like with the like Maya at the time making special effects, and then they did that like Daybreakers movie, the vampire movie.
Yes,
and
I remember liking that for some weird reason and hating it at the same time. Like, man, I like this, but boy, is it dumb. Damn, I like that.
But I think when they made Undead, like I think they have like helicopters coming in and like blowing up zombies and stuff like that, but like they just spent a year doing the special effects by themselves rather than spending a team to do it. Or there's the one guy
we're talking about like Gareth Edwards' process on this, which was basically guerrilla filmmaking in Central America.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, we're not even like green screening, like all the stuff in the background. There's not even a green thing for them to look at. It's just like, we're just going to edit all this in later.
Yep.
But they didn't do the thing where they set up marks where the filming started and stopped. So his editor was like, the guy who's helping him edit was about to have a nervous breakdown. He's like, you shot, because they said this movie, like the first cut of this movie was 4.5 hours. And it's like, okay, we got to pare this down a little bit.
Yeah, what's the final runtime? Like an hour and 40 minutes or something
it's
like
just
that?
Over, just a skosh over an hour and 20 minutes.
I mean, it's very indie filmmaking where like they just have.
Oh no, like, 94 minutes. Oh, they almost got it to the big 90. Okay. Which for the pacing of this movie actually works out pretty good.
Yeah, because they just needed to fill time, and they didn't necessarily have a script or anything. They just had an idea, and they just went out there and shot stuff and made it work together eventually. So,
and all the actors had to improvise their dialogue with like the people of these countries who they just gave them like $20 and said, "Hey, you want to be in a film?" They didn't speak English or anything, or like how you did it. And Scott McNary and Whitney Abel had to just improvise their dialogue, which it worked out because you could put anything under the subtitles you wanted to.
Yeah.
So it's like, this was when you watch like a documentary about how this movie was made, it's like, oh, this is kind of inspirational in a way.
Yeah.
But then when you see the editing and assembly process of it, it's like, I would have just gave up. It's like, this is going there's no way. The stick-to-itiveness of Gareth Edwards is demonic to be able to get all this together.
Oh, he's willing to do that as long as he doesn't have to deal with people. So
which I respect in a way. It's like the patience is a virtue, especially when it's the clock running business of time equals money that is, movie making. It's like, that's a hardcore attitude.
I mean, this has a reported budget of $500,000, which it's like crazy because for how much this movie's kind of long-winded, but it still has like a lot of cool stuff to it.
It really works being what it is. Like I said, I said last week, it's like there are some movies like this I will have a massive amount of patience with, and there are other movies like this where I'm like, I'm just checking out 15 minutes in. It's like, what's this going to be? And I'm not taking the ride. Sorry. I know that doesn't make me one of the smart people. I just don't get this. But this movie, I kind of, because I wasn't expecting, because I read things about it.
Yeah.
I heard some of the initial like pushback on this movie was it's like they wanted like these people fighting monsters or something. It's like, no, that's if you didn't do some research before you see the movie. Don't see the movie and then like, this guy sucked. It's like, no, he did exactly what he wanted to do. And if you read anything about it, you'd know what it was. Because I don't think there was a lot of like, I watched the trailer for this. I wouldn't even say it was deceptive. Seemed to be a lot of long shots in the trailer, which I cued in on. Is like, okay, this is going to be a slower paced movie. Then again, I'll watch like Russian movies all day long. They just make no sense, and it's like, this is cool. And it's just because it looks cool. Like I figured out with David Lynch movies, it's like if you can draw me in with the way it looks, it's like I'll sit there for 5 hours like a lunatic, as long as the color balance is cool and stuff. It's like, yeah, whatever this is, I like it.
But I mean, here it's kind of Jaws. It's actually a lot of Spielberg guys, so it's like very Jurassic Park and Jaws rolled into one. But yes. I mean, here you see the monster, so it's not.
No, it's not an abstract thing.
Yeah, because like that's what with Stalker, it's like it's just they brilliantly bring you up to the pool to make your mind dive in when actually there's no water in the pool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like I like the Area X trilogy. It's like that explains nothing. But it's just so cool. The ride is cool.
Yeah.
But you can put it together. It's kind of like that movie I love, Primer, like, with the time travel. It's like, well, someone actually had to explain that to me because I just don't have that kind of mind. But once I understand it, it's like, this is a great movie.
Yeah.
Actually in Primer, I liked more the dialogue and attempts at acting than the story. And I like the kind of weird look of it because I could tell it's like, oh, these guys are giving it their all. They're really going. And I like Shane.
And that one's it's not shot on like really professional cameras. It's like you could have shot that on whatever. And sometimes that stuff looks really unprofessional. And even like they're like, here's our time travel machine. It's like, it's kind of just a cardboard box or whatever. But when you get to
I knew what it was because I work in factories. It's like, oh, that's a fiberglass containerized collapsible crate. Now, for people that don't work in that business, it's like, that's futuristic. It's like, no, that's all those weird ribs and stuff in it. They just don't make it solid to save weight. That's just a collapsible fiberglass crate they've been making since like the 80s when they got rid of cardboard. And it's like, yeah, that's, but it looked cool in the movie. I knew what it was right away. It's like, oh, they bought that for $500. Probably had to clean it out because it was maybe used a whole oil.
But Primer didn't seem that beyond like a movie project you do for school. Like, but it's when you get into the script and like you see how things are organized and it's like, oh, this is where the genius lies. So.
Yeah. No, the production value in Primer is not, awesome, but and the script is amazing just because of the sincerity and the force of the story. But like, yeah, well, you have to like read a parallel thing that's like, what's going on? It's like a lot of people aren't going to get into that.
Yeah, and it's weird because they're like, when you say a good script, like you kind of think of Quentin Tarantino must have great dialogue, but like, no, they don't have great actors delivering great dialogue. It's like, it's purely the story that if you follow it, you're like, oh, this is neat.
Yeah. This is like low key time travel. Like, what if a bunch of smart guys invented time travel and then they're like, we invented time travel, time to eject our morals and just immediately like turn to evil instantly. It's like, that seems to be a sudden change, but then you go have the story explained to you, you realize like, oh no, the time travel's been going on all the time. These people just didn't suddenly turn evil. These are the replicas of the other people. And it's like, oh wow, okay. Does not come through in the movie at all unless somebody explains it to you.
But yeah, that's a great kind of like diamond in the rough kind of movie. Like, if you just show that to somebody, they're gonna get bored real quick. But if they discover it themselves and like decide to like half pay attention to it, they'll like, wait, there's something here.
Well, we got into that movie when the much hated Jobs Bank was going on in 2008 when we were just sitting around. Well, when I was sitting around with the guys from work, just waiting for a plant to say they needed 5 people for a day or whatever. And I was like, hey, guys, we should watch this. Well, we had nothing to do because if we didn't sit there, we wouldn't get paid. But you could bring in movies, do whatever you wanted to. And so everyone else was immediately just like hoovering up cocaine and sucking down whiskey. And I'm like, let's watch Primer. And I had a lot of unusual fellow travelers came with me on that because just out of sheer boredom. And then they, instead of like, oh, this is boring or this sucks, no, they're going to their computers on the internet, like, I want to understand what's going on here, So I got like a bunch of guys who build cars for a living to like dive into Primer just because they had nothing else to do. It's like, any normal time in our history, like, these guys wouldn't watch this at all. But they're like, man, these movies are cool. Where do you find this weird stuff? It's like, because they're used to like, things exploding or something.
Yeah. Or Transformer movies coming out at the time.
Yeah. I was always proud of that. I thought maybe I can lead people. And then I found out once life got back to normal, no, nobody's interested in your weird shit. It's like, damn. I was going to start
do
a
you
movie.
Do you know if this is another Red One film?
Or no.
Film?
What did they say? Because I watched the documentary. It's basically really expensive off-the-shelf cameras.
Okay.
It's like you can buy them. The public can buy them, but they're like $4,000.
Okay.
But you could go to Best Buy or whatever and get one or two.
Okay.
But no, it was not that. It was, and it was not that on purpose. Because I guess whatever they were using to put the special effects in, it worked better with kind of the more grainy film they were shooting.
Oh, okay.
So it was easier to for him to put like blurry and a lot of dark special effects stuff in.
Oh, he put a lot of After Effects in that kind of like made it look more filmic.
Yeah, because like when the Abrams tank is laying in the water, it's like, well, this movie didn't have the production value to get that. So really, if you pay attention to it, it's like it's desert tan, and it's an Abrams tank, but it's like super blurry, almost like it's through night vision. And it's just in it for a shot. It works. It's fine.
Yeah.
But it's like you can once you realize like this is what he said he did and this is why he did it, because the reason the aliens are like real like day glow and bright is because that actually looked cooler than making them like dark and stuff like that. Because that's that kind of color scheme they came up with for the aliens. It like worked better with those cameras for the kind of special effects they were just pure CGing in. So there was a lot of like, I know filmmaking type tricks I can do. It's like we're not doing in-camera effects, but we're doing the equivalent of like, it's no green screen. We're just inserting this onto the film with digital editing. Because if you pay attention, like the one guy pointed out, like all the shots of the actors interacting with the monsters, it's like the reason the monsters are huge is it makes the actors kind of generally looking around. It makes more sense because this thing's huge.
Yeah.
It's not like the District 9 alien where it's like roughly your size.
Yeah.
It's like, no, if you're doing this, it's because there's nothing there, but they can edit in a cool monster later that's like 2 stories tall. It's like, okay, yeah, this works.
So yeah, director Gareth Edwards, cinematographer Gareth Edwards, written by Gareth Edwards, which I don't know what kind of script they actually wrote for it. Like you said, a lot of it's improvised, so maybe it was just an outline, but somebody's got to get credits.
Yeah, it was kind of based on what was his dream that he had? Because it was Jaws gets a lot of credit for this from his mouth. He's like, I credited a lot of Jaws to this.
Yeah.
It's like, you something's going on, but you don't see the monster right away. And he said it was like imagining a world where fishermen, because he was watching fishermen pull up a net. And it's like, what if they pulled a giant squid up in their net? But giant squids had been around for like a decade. And so they just knew, we got to deal with this thing. And they started like beating it to death with sticks. Whereas like the first giant squid, everyone would be like, ah! But now that, because that's kind of like, this movie's like slow apocalypse is like, these things have been around for like 8 years or something.
Yeah.
Like they're taking over like Central America and Mexico, but it's like, but we're not dealing with like the initial reaction where the army's rolling in and helicopters and tanks are shooting at these things. Now we're kind of dealing with like, we're building a kaiju wall in America and we're like, yeah, good luck everyone. It's,
well, that's always like, that's kind of the thing about this movie is like, it's eventually just suggested that really all the problem to the aliens is the human response to it. And maybe the aliens aren't really the problem, but you never really know. So
yeah, the aliens are just kind of amorphous and weird, but big and destructive too.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how they would line up against, because even though they are destructive, it's like, I still don't understand like how these things like defeating tanks and helicopters and then just firing rockets at them. Like they don't seem like that impervious. It's like in Cloverfield, it's cool because it's like, yeah, just keep firing at it. It's useless because it's so huge, but don't stop firing. That's what we do. We keep fighting. But these guys seem a little more like, I
Well,
don't know.
I don't. It seems weird because by the end of the movie, it's like, so nobody ever tried not fucking with the alien,
Yeah,
because it seemed to like, oh, I'll leave you alone if you don't have like a flashlight or something, and like nobody figured that out, or did they just couldn't handle the response of fight or flight. It's like we have to fight.
yeah.
But you know, it's
I've
like,
also heard this is kind of a play on the like American border situation,
yeah,
where it's like this is actually really kind of about those countries just falling into chaos and us just like just slowly retreating back to our border and being like, we're building walls.
yeah. Well, yeah, you're literally building walls against the illegal aliens.
Yeah, the monsters. Now you can just completely dehumanize them and call them monsters,
um,
which is actually what's going on right now in 2024. Look it
yeah,
up
yeah.
if you find this podcast buried in a rock somewhere.
Yeah,
Look
because
up.
I was like watching this movie and I was like, oh, these have obvious Trump parallels. It's like, oh wait, this is like 6 years before that. So,
Yeah,
but there's always been, the border has always been a place of contention. It was like, whether like these people are ruining our countries if we don't get to take advantage of them.
yeah. Damn their oil and cheap labor. They're screwing us. It's like, what? Well, you don't have to do business with them. Let them sell oil at the same price you do, and then see what Mexico is like. It's like Saudi Arabia with burritos, buildings, and it's like, no, we got to screw these people and corrupt their governments. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty cynical about a lot of things that go on, and it's like, well, this could be better if people weren't so greedy. But then when you say that, people just shake their head like that's not going to happen. You got to breathe oxygen, man. It's like, okay. I heard something ridiculous up here too. That's talking about the border, and one of our people running up here was like, in Michigan, we know how to maintain a border. I'm like, you're an idiot. First of all, in Michigan, you're surrounded by a moat in all but like 2 places. Okay.
Yeah.
You had to build a bridge in both places. Number 2, Canada is not a third world hellhole run by drug lords. At least last time I checked. I don't know what happened recently, but I'm pretty sure like that's an idiotic. It's like, and we're going to bring our border solutions to Mexico. It's like, are you going to make it into a first world country where people can control the wealth that they generate? Well, no. So yeah, that's all. That's that. Yeah.
Cast is Scoot McNairy, who I like in things. I only don't really know him from like Halt and Catch Fire, but I always like him and stuff. But
Yeah.
I think he's from like the Midwest, so maybe that's why.
He's from Dallas, Texas. Well, that's where he was born there. I don't know.
Okay.
But he was married to the star, or got married to the star of this movie.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I was going to say I have no idea who Whitney Able is. She has like a line of credits, but it's like, nope, don't know any of those.
Yeah, no, this guy's been in all kinds of stuff as a player. He was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as a kind of walk-on role.
No, I think it was the other guy from Halt and Catch Fire. I think he's from Iowa, or what's his name? Maybe his name is like Midwestern. I can't remember. Oh, well.
I don't know. Let me check. Lee Pace?
Yeah.
He's from Chickasaw, Oklahoma.
Okay, yeah, that's
close enough.
Midwest South thing going on. It came out October 31st, 2010, but like that was like theaters, and I doubt anybody really saw it in theaters, but I heard people talk about it, so it really eventually just talked up the DVD, so which I think I had the DVD. I'm not sure anymore, but they're the Corridor Crew guys, which they do like analysis on special effects. They did an episode with Gareth Edwards, and he seemed like a really cool, nice guy. And it's like, why do people stop him making movies? But it's like, oh well. And he's talking about because there's a scene in this movie where like the squid alien or whether it's kind of like playing around with the fighter jet in the lake.
Yeah.
And he just literally filmed that in his bathtub. It's like, that's amazing. He just took a toy plane, filmed in the bathtub, put like some lights underneath of it, and then just put it all together in After Effects or whatever. So, but also a lot of good, like, you know, because like you only see the aliens so much because you know they're just like, okay, I don't want to spend the rest of my life making these special effects by myself. But there's a lot of like signs they made up, which I'm guessing all the signs in this movie were just done afterwards. They just put something over top of something else in afterwards. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of the signs.
A lot of the scenes were deliberately shot with signs in the background.
Okay.
Because I guess those are really hard to put in convincingly because they have long, thin legs.
Yeah.
So it's better just to change the words on an actual sign than try to make your own sign. I learned that. I didn't know that.
Okay. Yeah. But there's some of the signage that kind of familiar to the. It seems sort of like last week's movie with how they had like the prawn signs and stuff like that, and like, you know, prawn Xing zone or something like that, and like similar looks and stuff like that. But again, this is a considerably low budget movie.
Yeah.
Even though that was a low budget movie, but had $30 million. And like here, yeah, in that movie you had special effects in the daylight. Here it's a lot of special effects at night. To cover
a lot of night stuff and a lot of fuzzy stuff. Well, the whole production crew of this movie during filming could fit in one van.
Yeah. That's the dream.
Well, then they had to have another van in certain places because it was so dangerous.
Yeah.
Like the government just assigned them bodyguards. It's like, yeah, you can't go to some of these places and just start shooting cameras. And people are not.
You're gonna start finding drug trails and stuff, and then people are gonna think you're surveilling them for some reason.
Yeah. That's why I say Juarez, Mexico is the most dangerous place to film a documentary, because you can go to the Gaza Strip or, you know, Palestine right now and film, and people are like, look at us, look at the suffering, look at the killing. You go down to Juarez and start aiming cameras around, they're just going to start firing at you. They don't want, it's like, we don't want you taking pictures of what we're doing. That's the difference. So it's like a different kind of war zone.
Let's see here. So we have Act 1. We open on black with somber music. We get titles. 6 years ago, NASA discovered the possibility of alien life within our solar system. A space probe was launched to collect samples, but broke up during re-entry over Mexico. Soon after, new life forms began to appear, and half the country was quarantined as an infected zone. The Mexican U.S. military still struggled to contain the creatures, quote unquote. Then we get opening credits. We get sounds of helicopters and vehicles over like black, and then we've located one male, one female. Then we cut in with night vision shots of soldiers, which I'm guessing this is just a genius way. I'm guessing the night vision makes it easier to put the special effects in.
Yeah. Plus, the guys could just be wearing construction helmets and be holding sticks.
Yeah.
Make them look like soldiers later, or not even bother because they just, what are these guys doing?
Yeah. You get night vision shots of the soldiers driving along when they cross the aliens and they start a firefight with it. An airstrike gets called in. We get a POV of the missile striking the alien. Then we cut to it's like, well, that's actually like, oh, and I'm forgetting large swath of it, because then we have like close-up photos of the fighting, and we see someone dragging a body out, and after you've watched the movie, it's like, oh, this is the end of the movie, but we're putting it in now to create intrigue. So.
End of the movie got some great incidental production value, because Galveston, Texas has been wiped out by a hurricane.
Yeah.
And they're just like, hey, can we go around here and film? It's like, yeah, you know, no one cared. It was like, oh yeah, it's like, because his houses were just torn apart, but they looked like residential homes with like the roof off of them or something. It's like, man, those some great like set effects. It's like, nope, that was an actual disaster.
Which really helps the production value of your movie.
Oh yeah.
It's like, let's go through Mexico, and then let's just go through a disaster zone. Which I'm wondering, like, Do you know how long they shot this movie? Was it like they just go
2
on and
weeks.
off? Okay, was it like straight on, or they just had to like take the opportunity when they could?
As I remember, it was how did it work? Because they didn't even have it storyboarded.
Yeah.
They just they went out and they bought cameras and they got like of course passports and stuff, and they said where they where they wanted to go, and they were looking for just like a lot of incidental scenes, and then maybe they were going to film some final shots in a more traditional way. But then they showed up with the actors who they spent a couple weeks with before they started shooting, and they're like, fuck it, let's just do it. So they went from like they started like where did they start? Down in Central America. What's that? Belize or something?
Okay.
So they made it from Belize, Guatemala, Costa Rica, Mexico, and the United States, and it took about 3 weeks.
Okay. Because I think with like Christopher Nolan's first film, I think it's called Following or something like that. Like he shot every scene so that like it began and ended in a way that you could just put it anywhere in the movie at any point. And
Oh,
then
okay.
like you can make it mysterious, but it would like make sense. It's like, oh, we're seeing this now, but actually this makes sense later on. You could just put it in any order because he called it modular filmmaking. But that's because they were just like shooting on the weekends, like because everybody had to work a job, and then so like they didn't have to worry about like haircuts and stuff like that because how every scene was shot. It was just like it could be any time apart from each other or whatever. So where it's like, so I was wondering about here, like, do they have hairstylists on set for this, or do they just like, or do they just like film at the start and to the end, and that's how they edited it together, so like they didn't have to worry about that stuff.
Yeah, if everyone could fit in one van, I'm guessing no. And it was all shot on digital too, so that means you could just shoot and shoot and shoot.
Yeah, I mean, you do eventually get limited by hard drive space, but
Yeah.
um, but those. But yeah, then you just unload it onto the computer, and then you've got a free hard drive to put back into the camera. Well, it depends what they're shooting with. So there's some things that like they basically had like really like it was like almost like RAM. Like you could just take it out of the camera, unload it onto the computer like really quickly, and then put it back into the camera and like let's go again. But other ones it was like having basically like a like an external hard drive like hooked to the camera. Let's see. Yeah, but so yeah, then we cut to so it's like actually the beginning of the movie. We got Andrew Calder, played by Scoot McNairy. He's trying to talk to Mexican firefighters around a collapsed building. Which I don't know. Was this actually something like did a building collapse and they just filmed it?
I'm assuming so, yes.
Okay. You see a tank and some alien bits lying around, so it's like, okay, that's what's going on then, I guess. Because that's also the weird thing, because it's like almost nobody sees aliens unless it's just like the dead ones.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't come. It seems like they come out at night and they kind of hide in the interior.
Yeah. Andrew goes to find a hospital where the injured were taken. I think we see him with a camera, so we know he's like a photojournalist. So I don't know if he's like, oh, he's there to find dead bodies, but really here he's on a mission to find his boss's daughter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he checks on Sam Wyndon, played by Whitney Able. He sees that she's okay, and he's like, "So you okay? You're good?" She's like, "Yeah," and then he just leaves. And then he gets on a phone call with like some associate, and is like, "No, you gotta take her to the border." And he's like, "Are you shitting me?" So have that being the end act one. It's like, all right, we gotta get this lady to the border. Without going through the quarantine zones. And like, I know they kind of explain it later on, but like, do they explain why she's there in the first place?
I don't actually know. It seems like she was kind of like rebelling against her dad,
Okay.
and just wanted to like hitchhike across, the worst part, the most dangerous part of the world right now.
Okay. I mean, because there's always this mention of like her fiance, and it seems like, oh, she's running away from him, but it's like, well, was that what she was doing down there, or did she have some other purpose to be down there? So I wasn't really sure about
She seems like the rebellious daughter who doesn't like the rich dad.
that. But we'll take his money.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah. Let's not be stupid.
She's not stupid. She's
Yeah.
rebellious. Yeah, Act 2, Andrew and Sam are taking a cab through the city. You see like military equipment scattered throughout the city. Sam has a call with her dad. There's something about her fiance and her not wanting to talk to him. Andrew reluctantly talks to Mr. Wyndham, where he's like, that's my daughter there. She's very special to me. It's kind of a funny scene because he's like, no, I don't want to talk to him. And she's like, he wants to talk to you, Dad. So Andrew's a photographer covering the aliens. He's trying to get a live shot of an alien, which I figured there'd just be like military like photos and video reels of these aliens, but I'm guessing not. So maybe there is kind of a hint that like they're like nobody. Well, it's either like nobody knows how the aliens work, or the information's hidden from it, or everybody just assumes things and nobody's telling each other anything. So.
Yeah, it's again, we're kind of like in a slow, like terminal, kind of almost like an inexplicable like apocalypse almost. Like I don't know if it's just dishonesty between the U.S. and Mexican government or something else.
Yeah.
Or what's like, well, it was your probe that poisoned our country, and it's like, well, it's not our problem. Just rolled the dice with the rest of us.
I don't know. Yeah, so I just don't know enough about the aliens of like to be like. Well, I mean, like how the aliens act. They're so like docile. Like,
Yeah.
Like it's like I just can't see them taking over the world necessarily, but maybe a part of it. So, I mean, this part. But I guess they do expand outward, so who knows. But they also seem to live underwater, so like, what do they need land for? So I don't know.
Yeah, there's not a lot of questions answered in this, except there's aliens and they can be dangerous.
Yeah.
It's like imagine a cow that's as big as a building. If it just moves, it's going to do damage.
That's fine. Like this is an indie movie; it doesn't have to answer all those questions. It's just up for you. It's up for you to decide. And also continue. Also, as we suggested, how the movie was shot. It's like, yeah, there's not a lot of intention in here. We just kind of have to like see if we can edit something together at the end of the day, and they did. So. They have an awkward conversation. He notices her ring when she takes her bandages. Oh yeah, she also she hurt her arm, which they will constantly be taking these bandages off throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Is it better? Nope. Okay. And maybe that has some deeper meaning. I have no idea. They have a train ride through Mexico. You can hear explosions, or they can see explosions off in the distance. Because I think it's kind of night when they're taking the train. It seems like the whole country stops at night. It's like, all right, yeah, everybody get indoors because they move around at night. So,
yeah, it's very much the vibe.
Yeah,
it's kind of like everyone's like, oh, we're driving through a bombing now or something.
Sam tells Andrew that the train is turning around, so they decide to get off the train and keep going. They get help from locals to figure out where they are. They say the aliens move and are dangerous at night. You see a map on the wall of the quarantine zone that like basically cuts through Mexico coast to coast. So it's basically like Texas, the quarantine zone, and then you get down to like, I don't know, what, Mexico City or something? Like,
yeah.
Or probably a little bit above that, I think, maybe. You even see, here they have cartoons showing kids putting on gas masks when they see the aliens, which that's always the thing hinted at. It's like, you need gas masks around the aliens, but like, there isn't necessarily evidence that's needed, or but maybe it's just abundant caution. I'm not sure. So,
yeah, it almost seems like there was a lot of disinformation going around.
Yeah, because it seems like that's either intentional or unintentional, but that the U.S. or even all governments are trying to keep under wraps what exactly is going on here because they don't want to scare the public with any truth, and so they'll just let them imagine the fear unto themselves.
Yeah, because the monster you create is scarier than the monster you see. So.
It's morning. Andrew's getting pictures of the local kids. He's like, yeah, put on the gas mask. Sam and Andrew leave. They hitchhike to the border. But this is like the West Coast border, not like the border of U.S. and Mexico. Yeah, she's talking about like his job is weird because like you need something bad to happen to profit from it, and he's like, "You mean like a doctor?" She's like, "Well, it's not like that." They get on a bus, they hitchhike some more. I'm probably forgetting a lot of cool, just kind of scenery of like signs and um like military posts and just and just the giant fences that are just kind of randomly placed around.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Or just and random Abrams tanks that they put in there. It's obviously they just put that in there later with CGI. They didn't have the budget for that. So, which I'm guessing they must have. If you got all these Abrams there, they either gave the Mexico government these tanks, or they're just have like a bunch of soldiers like based in in Mexico now. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm guessing by how much of Mexico is quarantined off, it's probably literally a U.S. occupation, especially in the quarantine zone. Or we could have given all those tanks too. I don't know. I mean, we got Apaches and stuff. They're like, oh, we can go after the cartels with this? Cool. They're just shooting a hellfire city. Like, whoa, okay.
Let's see here. Yeah, that's where he talks about he gets $50,000 for a monster killing a kid if he gets a picture of it, and $0 for a picture of a happy kid. So that kind of like sets up his dilemma that he's it's a further dilemma. He has to profit from pain. So it's like, well, that's what your dad hired me to do. And she's like, okay. They get to a harbor. There's a giant fence that blocks off the infected zone. They're trying to get a ferry back to America, but the ticket office like scams them for $5,000 for a morning ticket. And this is just for her to leave. There's also mention of going through the infected zone because they're like, what are those people doing? There's like other way to travel through the infected zone. Which he makes it sound like a cheaper, but it's like ends up being the same price. I don't know. I don't know. This guy it's kind of fun, but he's just purely a scam artist and some sort of official. But he eventually gets them through places. So it's like, okay, well, that wasn't money well spent, but it was money spent and services were rendered. So they get a hotel and see a newscast about alien migration patterns. Andrew calls his kid to wish him a happy birthday. Then Andrew and Sam like go out and enjoy some street food, which I don't know. They get like I've always heard of like the Mexican street corn. Here it just looks like it's just corn, and then they poured some salt on it, and then they're like, "Oh, this is great." So I don't know. I don't know what's up with Mexican street corn, but is it just corn and some flavoring, or is it something extra special?
They do cool stuff with sour cream, like they add a lot of spices and herbs to it.
Huh.
So I'm guessing it could be something like that.
All right.
I don't have any direct.
I know there's the Mexican street corn, and then there's like the churros. That's the obvious thing. That's just like really simple. Like, let's just fry dough and throw some cinnamon on it, but have it be in like a cool shape. Like,
yeah, like a fun shape.
Yeah. And then throw some like, whipped cream on it or whatever. Have some strawberries with it, a syrup, You can just have them straight up, or you can, serve it with a bunch of stuff and make like a pancake out of it. There's like a vibe shift as they come across like a remembrance for the dead from the aliens. And so it's like I can't even remember what this is called. I was like tried searching Google about like, what's it called when you put up pictures of dead people of the recently deceased to like remember them or like kind of like have a missing phone. I can't remember what that's called. Nathan, do you remember what that's called?
Is that called a reliquary or a photo montage of the? Yeah, I don't know what that. I know there's a word for it, but I can't think of it.
Oh yeah, it was fun. But the next thing that happens, I found the word for that, a candlelight vigil. They have a candlelight vigil for the dead, so there's a bunch of people with candles. which I don't know if they did that with CGI or if there was just actually a candlelight vigil in Mexico for something.
Yeah, they like to have like crazy film or funerals there,
Okay.
like dancing funerals and stuff.
There's also a sign that says no bombing, suggesting fighting the aliens is actually what's killing civilians rather than aliens. um, Sam and Andrew talk about her soon to be marriage and how it's already just falling apart. So then Andrew, like, they get back to her hotel and he flirts with her before they go their separate ways to separate beds. And then Andrew stays out and gets drunk. Sam tries to call her fiance, but she gets a voicemail. It's all the communications working, so that's all. That's all still
Yeah, like the monsters don't seem to attack the phone lines.
working. Yeah, we cut to morning. The 7 a.m. ferry's loading up. Andrew's in bed with some woman. Sam knocks on the door looking to get coffee with Andrew. Then she sees the lady in bed and just runs off. Then Andrew goes after her in his boxers, and she says she can't get on the boat because he has her passport. And then when he goes back to the room, he finds both her passports have been stolen. Is that all that's stolen, or they just steal? Or they steal money and other stuff?
Seems to be the thing that is stolen. That's why the inland crossage or the inland crossing costs more because they don't have passports.
Oh, okay.
Remember, you
That
said
makes
both
sense.
of them cost the same. It's like, well, yeah, but going through the middle of the country through the infected zone means you don't have a passport.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's all they mention. So maybe all the money too, because she has to pawn her ring to get,
Yeah. Well, I was surprised like this camera was left behind, but maybe that lady was just, or whoever she's organized with, like, these are the most important things. Get in, get out. The talk with the ferry guy again, but he says he can't help them. Sam asks about going by land through the infected zone, and it's like I said, it's like double the price. But like you said, it's because they don't have passports, which they don't have any more money. So she pawns off her engagement ring to get them both through. So now they have to make their way to the start of the infected zone. um, they're able to get through without a passport, with some help of bribed officials. There's a problem with their boat guy. Like, he's not going all the way, but they don't know that. It also doesn't necessarily feel like that's a problem. They just kind of like get on the boat and it's like, oh, the boat's stopping now. It's all right. We're going with these guys. So it's like, so I don't know if they're just like don't know what's going on, or that's just how they restructured the story afterwards. Like, we got these shots and now this makes sense. But again, like you said, like you can just have these people talk to somebody, and then you can just put subtitles in to fill whatever story need you want, which is brilliant filmmaking. Let's see here. The boat ride comes across a bunch of dilapidated infrastructure and boats. Yeah, these are kind of really slow scenes, but they look really cool. Just like, here's a boat in the trees. It's like, what's going on there?
Boat devastation montage.
Here's a building that's like 3/4 of it's fallen down, but here's like the concrete and empty windows that are left and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, and just tanks in the water. Which again, like, that seems not necessarily. It's suggested that that's all the aliens' fault, but it might just be the bombing's fault. The boat stops for gas. They hear like weird trilling sounds, which is presumably the aliens, which is good. Just like, mystery build up. It's like, because that's just the good Jaws filmmaking of just have every else thing about it before you actually show them. I mean, and technically they show you a full shot of the alien in the start of the movie. So
yeah, you have some idea of what they are.
Yeah. Sam is curious, and then Andrew gets them back on the boat. Is she actually a marine biologist, or is that some joke he makes? I can't remember.
I'm not sure. I'm assuming she is.
Okay.
Because it seems like the kind of like a lot of people that like, I don't know what I want to do in college, but I don't want to study dance. It seems like that's always seems to be like a throwaway degree that the Herald film has. I don't know anything about marine biology. It's probably complicated. But for some reason in film, it's become the thing.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a cool like word to say.
Yeah.
Sounds like, at a biologist, you're like the extra cool biologist that, like, has to hunt people on shore. Go in.
Yeah. What is that? Do you study sea life? No, I'm a combat biologist. Huh, really? It's an interesting school. It's like, yeah, it's 4 years of college and then 4 years of combat training. What do you kill? Fungus. Hand-to-hand fungus.
Fungus will bite your head off.
Yeah.
Andrew
Venus traps, in the deep jungle. It's like, oh, okay.
Andrew talks about his kid where he got a lady pregnant and she's like, yeah, it's your kid. And he's like, do you want anything? She's like, no, but remember, you're not his father. It's like, okay, that's weird. So
that works for me. See you later. Yeah. It's like, so this guy has a problem with being irresponsible.
But yeah, but he does check in on the kid. Like, so it's like, hey, it's your birthday. So he cares about him, but he also, like, the mom lets him know, like, you're not in his life, except for just like, hey, you're his biological father. That's about it. Which then she must have a great job to make that work out.
Yeah.
Well, I guess she's like married to another guy or is dating some other guy who has money or something like that. Because there's something about that where it's like, you're not the father. So. And not meaning like you're not the biological father, just like you're not going to be the father of this child.
Yeah, you're basically like, I went to a sperm clinic and just...
Yeah. The boat breaks down, so the guys are working on the engine as night falls. Then eventually gets night, so that's what's start being dangerous. They start hearing weird sounds and see something moving in the water, which this is very just like, is that a fin? What is that? And it's like, it's kind of like a fin.
Yeah, sort of.
It's kind of Jaws. And then a fighter jet just kind of floats on top of the water, and then you see like electrical pulses below the plane from an alien. And then an alien wraps its tentacles around the plane and then just drags it down in the water. It's a very elongated scene, but it's mysterious and cool looking. And this is the special effects scene he just filmed in his bathtub with a toy of a plane. So, the boat engine starts again, and then they move along. It gets a morning. They come across more destroyed boats and stuff. The boat guy leaves them with a bunch of guys with guns, and so now they're continuing on by land. So it's nighttime with the Mexican militia or whatever they got going on here.
The Mexican Patriots.
They discuss the wall built to keep the aliens out of America. Which I can't. It's very just like, it's like, was that just happenstance? They're spending all this money to stop aliens from entering America. It's like, is that both aliens or just the giant aliens?
What problem are we preventing here?
And then they also talk more about the aliens and say, like, yeah, if you get in the high ground and stay out of the water, and especially at night, like, they'll leave you alone if you leave them alone. But then later on, they just open fire on them. So it's like
they just don't even take their own advice. Like, I see something, and start firing with K-27s in all directions. Like, oh, okay, this is not leaving aliens alone. This is shooting.
Yeah. They also say the airplanes make the aliens crazy, which we never see what that means, really. So maybe that's when they're most dangerous, when they send the airplanes at them. Maybe they start just flailing around and shooting off electricity all over the place or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're basically like, they were described as like cephalopods. So they're essentially like an octopus or a squid of some kind. So maybe the frequencies that the engine produces on the plane drive them crazy or something.
Well, and they also seem to have some kind of bioluminescent or electrical impulses that's either important to like their communication or something, defense, but we don't know. It's all up to you to define. So
yeah, they're definitely drawn to electricity, we find out later.
Let's see here. Yeah, nighttime. Yeah. So they learn about the trees being infected, which they say, like, basically this is like, Agent Orange type stuff. Like, they're burning the trees, and they show them the trees, and there's kind of like It looks like fungus, but they're saying it's eggs. It's like
Yeah,
that's a lot of eggs to become these aliens. But I have no idea. It's all a mystery. So it's up to you. It's like, did only one type of alien make it to Earth, or is this just a different type of alien life form that made it to Earth? So, um, but also it's like a sample from a satellite then turned into like 4-story aliens. So, so who
yeah, and it
knows?
was from the planet. What was it? Europa. It was one of the
I don't.
moons of Jupiter, right?
I don't think. I think they only say they found life within our solar. Or did they say within our solar system?
Yeah, I thought it was like from one of the moons of Jupiter. Maybe that was explained in the.
I mean, that could have been like one of those like kind of the kind of off to the side news channel stuff.
Or maybe I heard that in the production thing too. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe true. I just okay. Well, here it is. Just says NASA discovered the possibility of alien life within our solar system. That's the titles from the opening, but yeah.
Okay.
I mean that's within our solar system. So, um, so that makes sense. Also, like at this time, getting a probe there and back in a swift amount of time would have to be within our solar system for that to really make much sense.
Yeah.
Because trying to get a probe outside of our solar system to check on some aliens would take hundreds of years, so, or however long. How long's Voyager been out there? Voyager 2?
Before I was born, I think. So yeah, years. Maybe I could be wrong.
And do you know where? Yeah, Nathan, look that up real quick. Where is Voyager 2 now? How far
Has it
away
reached
is it from?
your planet yet? Let's see. They just regained contact with it last August. It is what they call now an interstellar space, the region outside the heliopause, or the bubble of energetic particles and fields from our sun.
Huh.
So it is now in deep space. So it means it's beyond the influence of our sun.
Huh.
No light, no particles, nothing.
That
It's
we
just
know
a sad beep, beep.
of. And whatever dark matter's out there that I'll run into.
No, I'm sorry. It was launched 3 years after I was born. It was launched in 1977.
Okay.
So it's been traveling for 47 years, 22 days.
Let's see. So yeah, presumably the U.S. is bombing all these trees here to try and stop reproduction of the aliens, but again, we have no idea.
Yeah.
They unwrap Sam's wrist for like the 8th time, and it's still not working. They try to make a thing. I think it's here where he's like he keeps wrapping it up, and she's like, "It's too tight," and they do this like 3 times, and I don't really buy this romance in this movie, even though they went on to get married. So, but whatever. I mean, they're both desperate people. That's kind of like the whole thing. It's like,
Yeah.
well, if you're both desperate at the wrong time, then you can find the wrong love, or maybe it's right. Who knows? Andrew,
Tainted love.
Andrew apologizes for sleeping with a random lady and getting their stuff stolen. So she's like, "Yeah, it's okay." It's like, well, it isn't, but they try to get some sleep, and then they're awoken by a radio, and they hear planes flying overhead. They leave camp and drive off in a bunch of trucks and a van. Sam and Andrew want to know what's going on, but then they tell them to keep being quiet. And then like everybody puts on gas masks and like, can we get a gas mask? They're like, shut up. Which this just goes on to conclude that like, yeah, I don't think the gas masks are necessary.
Yeah, it's kind of like the gas masks in Close Encounters. It's like, yeah, you don't really need those except when the government's chasing you.
They come across an alien. It picks up one of the trucks and throws it down. This is just very the like T-Rex encounter from Jurassic Park. The militia gets out and they just start shooting at the monster again, like they're just not abiding to their own ideals here. It's like, be quiet, leave it alone. It's like, no, it's here, shoot it. Let it grab you. The alien moves around the van because like it's presumed like I think there's like a silence and basically it's just Andrew and Sam in the van, and so the monster's kind of moving around, lumbering around, and then the alien like kind of moves around the car, and he covers up the light inside the car. Which, is he just covered, or does he just break the light? Because he like holds his hand there. Some guys he's just covering the light.
Yeah, I assumed he was covering it. Yeah.
Okay. Then the alien moves around like to the back where there's a truck with its lights on. The alien, like I think does it pick up that one, or is it just kind of shove it around? But anyways, it just leaves. So I have that being in Act 2. It's got Act 3 with morning. We get a shot of planes flying overhead. Andrew and Sam wake up and get out of the van. All the militia guys are dead or gone or whatever. Andrew finds a truck in a tree, and then he finds some dead bodies. You see like a guy's kind of like chest is ripped open in the foreground. You just kind of see some ribs. You don't know. It's like, oh, what's going on here? Do the aliens eat people? But, again, no idea.
No one's asking questions either. They don't seem perturbed that are seeing that. They're like, huh, guts. Well, let's go find breakfast.
Well, he is like, he's looking at the dead bodies. He's like kind of holding back from like throwing up and stuff. But then
that's right. Yeah, he does put his hand over his mouth.
But then he's like, I got to get my camera. Because also this part where he's like, where's my camera? And this guy has like 2 of them. He like stole his camera or was just looking at it or something. I'm not sure. He got his camera though. So, but he gets his camera back. Then Andrew finds a dead kid, and you see him like pulling out lenses out of his bag, and it's like, oh, this is the $50,000 shot of a kid killed by an alien. But then he just pulls out like a Parker or whatever in the bag and puts it over the kid rather than taking a picture of him. So.
Which shows he's developing as a moral being.
Which Sam kind of like views from the background, because she kind of wakes up a bit later or is groggy to get out of the van. He grabs a mask from one of the dead guys, which I don't know, presumably just full of blood. I don't know if he's wicking out sweat or blood, but he gets that and he gives it to Sam. Then he gets his own somewhere for something. But he only grabs one here, but later on they both have one. But she has like the full on like cover your eyes mask, and he just has the one that covers your nose and mouth. They keep walking on foot to the border. They find some like, I don't know, Aztec ruins. I am not sure.
That's what it kind of looks like. It looks like a temple of some kind.
Well, I was like, what's all the?
This is what I call them.
Well, there's like the Mayan, the Aztec, and the Incan, but it wouldn't be Incan because that's like Peru or something. So I think Maya's actually like more south and Aztec's closer north. I was trying to look it up on my phone, and I was like, whatever, keep going. But they climb to the top of the ruin, and here's where they get to, it's like, oh, cool, look, we've found some ruins, and you get on top of that, and then you see like the giant border wall between Mexico and the U.S., and it's just like they even talk about like you can see it from space and stuff like that, and it's like, it is a giant Japanese anime-esque wall. So.
Yeah, it'd be very, very expensive to build that.
Yeah, it's like, how long did that take to build? So. They must have removed all the red tape to get this stuff built.
Yeah, how many people live in America? I mean, I guess it's assuming, too, we also have a lot of new Mexican Americans.
Yeah.
Because the whole center swath was cut out. Like, most of those people, I'm assuming, wound up in America.
Yeah. And I have to imagine that internationally they might send help over to build the wall because they don't want any aliens anywhere near them. So it's like, let's just fund America to handle this.
Well, I think they know the history of America. It's like, let's go with the soft option first, because Americans are just like crazy hillbillies. They like to shoot missiles into the atmosphere and detonate nuclear bombs. So maybe we shouldn't do that.
They talk about their lives just beyond the wall and how like these experiences won't matter anymore. It's like all those hard times we have, like as soon as we get into the suburbs, this just all disappears. It's all melts away. Everything will be good in America.
Which is called the American dream. Or the almighty dollar, depending on how you look at it.
So they spend the night on top of the ruins, which is like a neat thing.
Yeah. It was a cool scene.
Which I don't know. Do we like what were those pyramids used for? Is that for like storing stuff? Is that like a house or what's going on there?
Rituals, religion. I'm not sure.
Oh,
I actually
okay.
know nothing about it.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm assuming, like, kind of like, I mean, why did they build pyramids anywhere back then? I mean, it's like, because in Egypt they built them just as temples to the dead.
Yeah.
So I don't know what kind of culture they had down there, but maybe it was probably religious. I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
well, I just didn't know if like were they just like are those just nothing but like pure giant stairs or is there like a structure inside of it?
I don't know. If you look at the pyramids of Giza and look what's actually inside them versus the size of them, it's like, oh, they only use like 10% of the space inside. It's
Yeah.
the reason they're still there. It's just a big solid structure. Oh, that's nuts. No wonder aliens built it.
um we cut to morning. They get to a washed out highway that's leading to the wall. They get to a border crossing, but it's been abandoned. So it's like,
Yeah,
okay, well, this doesn't look
kind of
good.
weird. Yeah,
So then they just walk into Texas and see they see a devastated and empty town, which this is like here it's implied that monsters came through, but like in reality it was just a hurricane in Texas.
yeah.
um,
It was in Galveston, Texas.
yeah, okay. Andrew thinks it's a result of an airstrike though, so again this is another like what's the problem, the aliens or the response?
Yeah.
Which could probably be just an Iraq War parable at that time. So. So they put on the gas mask and explore the town. Andrew takes a picture of a dead alien. They come across some lady pushing a cart around, but then it's just a crazy lady who's no help to them whatsoever.
Yeah, basically just a schizophrenic. Just
They're like, "Hey, is anybody around?" Then she quacks at them and walks off.
I hate it when I meet people like that. It's happening once a day now.
Sam and Andrew follow the there's a bunch of signs for like evacuation route, so it's like okay, that must have just been planned to put signs up. They find a gas station with power. Andrew calls the police looking for help. I think he the police, but he ends up like, yeah, we're gonna send an army patrol out. And it's like okay, which I like. It's like yeah, we have one male, one female, and they're like, all right, what are you wearing? And he's like, why does that matter? It's like okay.
A tutu, a fairy outfit, and she's dressed like a commando.
It's like we're the only two people at this gas station. Just don't go to the wrong gas station.
Yeah, it's the only place around here with lights on.
Sam and Andrew hang out in the gas station. They don't know
You
what they're.
describe yourself to me. Fat. Very good. Sky crane helicopter is on the way.
They don't know what they're gonna do tomorrow. They just know like, all right, we're going home. Andrew calls his kid, and Sam calls her fiance. And Andrew has like an emotional call with this kid where he's like crying, and then Sam has an emotionless one with her fiance. It's like, yeah, love you too. And hangs up. And
Nothing but love.
Then we see the sky starts to like fill with lightning, which reveals the alien in the background, which is a really cool like scene.
Yeah, it is cool because it looks like huge. It looks like a mountain is coming towards you.
Yeah, and it's almost completely silent.
Yeah, no sound, no. It's just like there it is, and it's like oddly shaped head. Yeah.
The door chime on the gas station rings, and Sam sees the tentacles moving inside the shop. The alien's like glowing red and making sounds because we cut to the outside and see it. Sam watches the tentacle touch the TV screen, which I'm not sure like if it's the noise, the electricity, or what's the TV screen that's important. When she unplugs it, then it just like leaves. So
Yeah, it's either the noise, the electricity, or the light. We don't know which.
Or some combination.
Monsters there seems to be a lot going on with light.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but she unplugs the TV, and then the tentacles leave as it becomes uninterested. So it must have just thought, oh, this must have been another alien to mate with or whatever. We don't even know if they have sex or whatever, how they reproduce, or if it's just asexual. But
we're assuming they're sexy aliens. That's
yeah,
what gets in seats.
Yeah. The alien walks off, and then it comes across another alien, and the aliens start touching each other. Which, it's up to you. What's this mean?
Start to have the Borat movie voiceover. I want to make a sexy time. What's going on? But we could make it sound foreign.
Yeah, because what's the purpose? They're like, oh, they're going to find each other, touch, and then just leave. And it's like, what are they going to do? Go touch more other aliens, or what's going on? Why don't they just hang out together? If they kind of make whale-like sounds and stuff like that, it's just alien whale sounds. Yeah, the aliens leave and go their separate way. And here we like nobody's harmed. Andrew and Sam are okay. They didn't grab them up and rip them to pieces or anything like that. Like they basically acted like they didn't even know they were there. And then we hear like one of the guys singing. What's the dun 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 dun, the Ride of the Valkyries?
Ride of the Valkyries, yeah.
Yeah. So now we're coming back to the opening of the movie with the army convoy moving in to get them. And here Sam confesses that she doesn't want to go home, and then Sam and Andrew kiss. And then as they kiss, like soldiers come up and grab them both and like seemingly take them in opposite directions in different cars. It's like, and credits. But then if you go back and watch the opening scene, you see like Andrew carrying Sam's body around, implying she got killed by the aliens or the army in response to the aliens. You don't know, so.
Yeah, I'm assuming it was the army just overreacting.
Yeah.
Because it seems like they're very reactionary in this movie.
Yeah.
Because like the whole like the flight of the Valkyries being hummed is like, oh, that's apocalypse now. That's the mindset of these people. Because the aliens are seen with kind of a sense of dread and wonder.
Yeah.
And then guys show up and start just racking 50 caliber guns and airplanes flying overhead. And it's almost like, no, the aliens want to teach us something, but you don't actually know. It could be these people aren't overreacting at all. They just know stuff civilians don't. It's like, kill these things fast. You'll have those weird nodules on you or something.
But I mean, it's almost like the opposite of like Starship Troopers, where it's like they're big and dangerous, but they're not coming to kill you.
Yeah, they're not like filling the land and just like screaming, and they don't look like a vice that's there to crush you. They just.
But also, you can't shoot like 40 of their limbs off because it doesn't seem to affect them. But I mean, you do see their bodies, and they talk about little ones, but we never see those whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine that if it was something man-sized and it moved quickly and could like electrocute you to death, it's like, yeah, that has to die. That would...
And maybe that's what the small arms is best at, and why we don't see the little ones, because they're all being shot to death.
I mean, where's the guy with the Carl Gustav for the big ones? Like, I want to see that. I want to see the troll hunter scene where they just fire an RPG from a man on the ground, and it takes an appreciable amount of time to hit the head of the troll. That was a cool scene, but they don't do that very much.
But this is a very cool, very inexpensive independent movie where they did all their special effects themselves, which that was kind of the promise of like even like YouTube and all this more available technology, but it feels like it's even further away from people like really getting these opportunities even more. Like I just don't think people have the spare time to, I mean, either you have to have rich parents or the spare time to do this stuff.
Yeah, well, it's like a lot of these guys that do this type of stuff come from other countries.
Yeah.
Like, where's the big American indie sci-fi film? I mean, the last thing like that was like the Blair Witch Project. Something. It's like when that was just scary stories. That wasn't trying to create a sci-fi universe.
Oh, what was that one? I'm trying to remember. There was an Amazon one that I think we watched for Greed Factory. Oh yeah, if you're seeing the broadcast, I probably had the American Greed Factory banner on there. It's like, I don't have a VHE banner from this computer, so you're just getting that tonight. So
Cullen's coming from an undisclosed location, seat of government of the United States. So.
But there's that one. They ended up getting like bought by Prime, but it's like takes place in the 50s, and a kid's like discovers aliens. Like,
Oh yeah, that was yeah, what was that called? That was like a radio,
yeah,
like they were doing stuff over the radio. Oh, that was a cool one.
I'll look it up, but
Yeah, because what was that called? Something over and out. I don't know. I can't remember. I know I watched it. It was cool because it's like set in New Mexico.
oh, I thought that was like Texas. Okay, that makes. I'll look it up here. You continue on with your thought, which I forget what you were talking about before I said that.
Apologize to everyone. I have to keep turning the mic off to blow my nose.
I put Amazon 50s, and now they want to give me like basically like sexploitation movies from the 50s. Where you have like like a lady in a ripped dress or something like that. It's like no, it's I'm like.
Yeah.
But you're talking about like foreign people get to make these movies, not really Americans.
Yeah, it seems like there's it seems like a lot of people from like other countries, like there's more money in art than there is here. I mean, there's a lot of money in art, but it's just like getting into it requires a lot of your parents better be rich or something to sustain you. Or in other countries, like the government actually does things for you sometimes. Boy, I'm not having any luck with this. It's showing me like retro cameras from the 50s because I put in film. This thing. I don't want to see 50s movies on Amazon. Well, anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that Quiet Place movie came out sometime later. It seemed like I don't know if it owes anything to this movie, but The Vast of Night.
Oh, okay. Yep, that's it.
Yeah, it's only an hour and 31 minutes. It's very
very cool movie.
Yeah.
Very ambitious movie for what it is.
Yeah. But yeah, that's another like low budget American made sci-fi movie that again that seemed like they made it on their own, sold it to Amazon. Again, that seemed like a dream, but I doubt that doesn't seem to be like common. That seems to be like an exception to the rule. So
that was the one guy that won the lottery.
And now they closed down that avenue. Yeah, like I don't know. Yeah, what was Cloverfield before this? Was that like 2008 or something like that?
2008, yeah.
Which again, even that was like a kind of like a seemingly low budget movie, but this is the ultra low budget.
Yeah, this is super movie. Low budget.
But yeah, then you have The Quiet Place and their sequels, which I've never watched. I watched the opening to 2 because that was really it was just on TV. It's a really cool opening because you just start seeing like rocks falling from space, and you just have like this incredibly like harsh sound, and then just aliens start falling out of the sky, and then it's like, wait, that makes no sense. It's like, are these ships? Are these asteroids? What's going on here? So,
yeah.
But again, I never actually like went through and watched any of those movies because I always heard like people liked them, but then everybody was saying they're also stupid. So I was like, I'll just forget about it. So.
I like the first one. The second one I kind of didn't like, and I haven't seen the third one yet because I don't think it's in on a streaming service yet.
Yeah, it was in theaters. I think it might. Yeah, maybe it hasn't hit. It should probably hit pretty soon. So, because that's just it's Quiet Place Day 1 or something like that.
Yeah, it's like set in New York or something.
Okay. I guess we'll use this opportunity. So last week we had the end of the 2009. So we finished with the aughts. So Nathan, do you have any like sum up of the aughts in movies?
Well, it was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a era influenced by 9/11. So.
Yeah, and a lot of cool movies came out of that time.
Yeah,
a lot of very cool movie stuff. A lot of the Matrix stuff. That stuff's still amazing. Uh, the, the Batman stuff. And there were a lot of there seemed to be like a lot of like groovy kind of offbeat films.
Yeah.
That, like stuff like this, like it's like, oh, that's kind of cool.
But yeah, we've had a pretty good run of movies, like not
Yeah,
exactly B movie. Well, actually, I guess this is actually a B movie. So
yeah,
an
this
independent movie. So
yeah, this isn't like what would you say? This isn't like a Tom Cruise movie, but
no, yeah, we had like 2 of those in a row. Yeah, we'll get back to Gareth Edwards with Rogue One. So.
Yeah.
Which I forget what we're doing next week, but well, let me look it up. Just get the preview, a taste of things to come. If my computer will let me.
Well, I can look up the list if you want me to.
We're at the bounds of technology that my laptop, old laptop can do. The laptop where the bottom of the screen is lost with pixels. Oh, and we're doing Fast 5 next week. Okay. That'll be fun. I'm making Nathan has never seen any of the Fast series, and I'm making watch what I think to be the best ones. Because I think that'll be fun. Just as that's an experiment, because I think it's the most entertaining movie, and I don't think you need to know anything about the other movies. You can probably just guess, because they're not really like, they're not really deep or intellectual. So,
yeah. Yeah, I've never watched any of those. No reason, it just never seemed interesting to me.
I mean, they're pretty stupid movies, but they eventually kept getting like huge budgets behind them and having crazy action scenes. But then they also they started killing off people, and then in the last trilogy, they basically brought back everybody that they've killed off, and it's like, okay, you've done this officially way too much. And it was fun for a moment when they were kind of doing the Dragon Ball Z thing of like every villain of the previous movie becomes a part of the gang in the next movie.
Oh, okay.
And that got a little bit too much, and I haven't seen the last movie, the Fast X or whatever it is. I think they're supposed to do one more. I can't remember.
God, it cost us $400 million.
It's like, it's an inexplicable film franchise. Like, it's 10 movies deep. It's started in 2000, so it's a 24-year-old film series.
Well, finally, it looks like they're going to do another Riddick movie.
Yeah, that's what I saw. So I'm wondering if he was just doing that in between. Which, God bless the Riddick movies. Like, none of them make money except for the first one, but I love the stuff behind that.
Yeah, oh yeah,
it's so crazy.
The only Vin Diesel movies I watch, because he actually, that is his role.
Yeah, he controls that, I think. So
yeah,
I remember the last one was really.
David Torrey.
What's that?
David Torrey created that.
I
think he directs them all. I think that's all he does now.
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah. He used to write all the sci-fi movies used to be just the David Bowie movies, but scripts and directed. But
because Pitch Black is still a cool movie. So
yeah. I mean, that was a low budget movie at the time, and then they put a lot of money behind Chronicles of Riddick, and then it failed pretty horribly. There's a video game they did on it, Escape from Butcher Bay, that's really good.
I played it. I liked it. Played it all the way through.
And then they did I think it's just called Riddick, and that one was pretty low budget, and it was okay, it's a gritty Riddick movie, but it's you kind of miss the spectacle of Chronicles of Riddick.
Yeah, see, I loved Chronicles of Riddick, the weirdos in there, the necromongers, their ships and the inside of their buildings where it was just men holding swords and looking. It's I would, if I had millions of dollars, I would do my house that way. Yeah, this is my house. Because I've always wanted, because I love stuff like that. More Lord of the Rings is the two guys. Remember, I think I've talked about this before, where it's the statues of the people going like this that say, "Don't come." I want to put one of those on either side of my front door. There was somebody that was making those like 8 feet tall, but I think they were ridiculously expensive, and somebody would steal them because if I saw them stealing those, getting some friends.
There's a podcast to listen to, and the guy, they have like these giant skeletons that you can put out for like Halloween, and they're like 8 foot tall skeletons.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
And he decided he's just gonna put them up, and then like he didn't want to take it down, so he just like redresses the skeleton for like different holidays.
Yeah, it looks like giants died in your yard.
Yeah.
Like I think it costs like $500 too.
I think you can get them at Costco, so they're not actually that expensive, but they're also not that they don't have longevity to them. But he found like some Reddit forum where there's like people like, here's what you need to do to like keep them together and stuff like that. So get your skeleton maintenance going.
I just put them in the backyard and just lay them on the ground. I just call it the Valley of Nephilim. It's like, don't go giants. You have to use your Carl Gustav to kill them. It's like firing a bullet that's as big around as a drum or something. Or as big around as a milk jug.
Don't they have something like that? It basically looks like a keg that you can fire off of like an RPG 6 or whatever. And it's like it does something special. I can't remember, but it looks like that.
I don't know. I just remember watching the guys shoot the army, like actually shooting the Carl Gustavs, like because they're just recoilless rifles. It's like, is he putting a big bazooka on his shoulder? It's like, no, that's essentially a bullet that he's firing. That's like this big around and that long, and they have to wear special helmets because they'll get concussed. But it's line of sight. It's not like it's not like a javelin or something where it traps. It just boom. As soon as you fire it, it's hitting the target because you're firing a gun. So I guess they're really hard to utilize, but they don't give you away with like laser aiming devices or anything. It's just like this comes out of the darkness at you, and if it hits something, it's devastating because it's very fast moving round. They use them. They use the recoilless rifles on the back of like train cars in Russia to start avalanches. So the snowpack doesn't build up and come down and block the train track. So they'll just, as they see the snowpack build up, they'll just fire those into the hills. And what happens right through the snow and hits the bedrock or hits the rock underneath, and it shakes them, and all the snow comes down. But if you let it build up, you'll have so much snow you can't clear it with the machine. It's like, now that's a cool job. And you realize, oh, you have to live in Russia to have that job. It's like, no thank you.
Well, they also have like the nuclear powered icebreakers.
Yep.
I think it's like the only nuclear powered civilian vehicle in the world.
They've had some mishaps with them too.
Shit, huh? Russia having a mishap.
One of the cooks is like, hey, if you access this steam water, you can clean your pots and pans real easy. It's like the steam water is so hot, it just vaporizes all the food off the pans. I don't even have to scrub them. And it's like the radiation in-feed loop for the coolant reactor. It's like stuck a nipple on there. Look at these pots and pans come clean. And you're serving food off these, and before you know it, everyone's like a mild radiation poisoning. I don't know if that's a true story or an apocryphal story. I would believe it, though. I mean, you wouldn't have to like stretch my imagination to make me believe that.
But yeah, that one guy has a skeleton in his yard. Like some of his neighbors are like, "Yeah, that's gaudy. Why don't you take that down?" But then there's more neighbors that are like, "Cool. How are you gonna dress the skeleton for like Thanksgiving?"
Pilgrim skeleton. Yeah. I remember when those started popping up, and I first saw those in places. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Huge.
I also got those big inflatable ones, which that makes more sense. That's easier to pack away.
I just want one made out of cement.
Well, we're sending a probe back into space.
Going back.
Containing a supercut of the scenes from the imperfect collection of movies that are the Verhoeven Effect. Nathan, what one scene from this movie are we shoving into space?
We're going to butt the opening scene and the ending scene together. We're going to seam it together.
Okay.
That's all you need to know. All the answers you're getting. Otherwise, it's
Are
just
we going to reverse the order or just put them together as is?
We're going to splice them together. No, we're going to put them together in the correct order, but splice them together.
Okay.
So that's the best I can come up with, because otherwise it's like, well, yeah, we're going to have long sequences of like boats and trees, and it's like apocalypse now in Central America. It's like, nah, we can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, I might put like when they're on top of the ruins and looking at the border wall, but I mean that doesn't necessarily explain anything. I just think that's a cool scene where it's and kind of might says something like, here's an ancient civilization that's now gone with its big thing, and then here's the next one.
Yeah. Why did these crazy people build this great border wall? And why were they at war with the friendly tentacleites who are our friends now? They sucked all the carbon out of the atmosphere with their lights. Now the world is one. They eliminated greed with space communism.
We're saying, you can find us on Letterboxd username VHE 1 out of 5 stars. What are we giving Monsters?
I'm gonna give it 4. I'm gonna give it 4 because I think it's good but not great.
Yeah,
I think it's definitely a movie you got to be patient with.
Yep.
Like, it sounds like exciting, but it's more cool.
Yeah, it's a great find. It's a hard recommend.
Yeah. If you and everyone you know are laid off, locked in a room all day, you might throw this on and see what people's ideas are.
Yeah. Because you can't just bring this to somebody like, oh, you should watch this movie. It's so cool, because then they're gonna turn off in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll check that out. Thanks. And then it's like, hey, you know that movie yet? No, not yet, man. Not yet. And then they start like, they see you coming and they start running the other way. Yeah, avoid that.
I want my movie report. I want you to validate my opinions I gave to you. Where you can find us at verhoeveneffect.com. There we have listener support. You can support us a month this time. They're 99 cents, $4.99, or $9.99. Cancel anytime. You can rate our podcast whatever you want on the platform of your choice. You can rate us whatever you want, but the only thing the algorithm listens to is the highest rating. So remember, you control the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't control you. So give us the highest rating so we can confuse the algorithm. Recommend the Verhoeven Effect to everybody.
So we can put off the inevitable overtaking of our inevitable enslavement by our machine overlords by just a few days.
Get in before the internet dies.
Yeah. Because we're not real people.
Yeah.
We died a long time ago. They're just recreating us over and over again.
See, this isn't really five fingers.
By making me progressively older.
You can find us at Twitter at Verhoeven Effect. You can find us at Blue Sky Social at Verhoeven Effect. You can find us on Facebook at Verhoeven Effect. And you can find us on YouTube, where you can watch at American Greed Factory, watch both this and that show live and unedited. So for the Verhoeven Effect podcast, I'm Conlon.
And I'm Nathan.
Goodbye, America.
I actually made it through that. If I cough, it feels like I'm swallowing broken glass. So
yeah.
I was trying to avoid that as much as possible.